Looks like everything's a go. So, Poke, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't even have to really prompt you to do the dance. It's almost like it's Walking Dead night or something. So, yeah. Oh, really? Really? You're going to go there? You shouldn't. You shouldn't have gone there. That was weird. All right, let's just get the show on the road. That's setting the stage, man.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Knights of Deathbridge proudly brings to you Warcraft Nightly News with your hosts, Darrick Scott and Poke Soul. Good evening and welcome to Warcraft Nightly News. We're the only broadcast that happens to be recording early so we can watch The Walking Dead. I'm your host, Darrick Scott. With me is the man, the myth, the legend, Poke Bear. And on this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the WoW economy, crafting, and what we are thinking of the expansion thus far, and what we expect to see in 7.1. So, Poke, why don't you come off of mute?
Okay.
Okay. Really? Just okay. So it's been about 2 weeks. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Walking Dead tonight. That's exciting.
Who's gonna die?
I heard that they kill everyone except for
Carl.
and then Daryl starts his own group, and we get a brand new show with Daryl leading everything.
Oh, the redneck Walking Dead.
I mean, I don't know who they're going to kill, but I know who they're not going to kill.
Who are they not? Okay, let's start with who are they not going to kill?
Okay, they're not going to kill Rick.
No,
because he's Rick.
Yeah.
They're not going to kill Carl, because if they kill Carl, they'd also have to kill Rick. They're not going to kill Michonne, because if they killed Michonne, they'd also have to kill Rick. So, those three are safe. Outside of that, I'm not even trying to speculate anymore. I once thought it was Eugene, but I hear a lot of rumor that it's going to be some other characters that maybe are a little more cared about, which not that I don't care about Eugene. He's great. But I hear it might be someone we're a little more attached to. So.
See, I really, really, really think it's going to be Eugene. That's who I think it is. I know that both Carol and Morgan are safe, and that's it. I've tried to stay away from the spoilers as much as possible, just because of the fact that I want that shock value. I really do. But anyways, this is not Talking Dead over on AMC. Haha. Yeah, I've wanted to say that actually for quite some time. But this is Warcraft Nightly News, and well, last week our last episode we kind of hit on the fact that there wasn't going to be a lot of news coming up to BlizzCon because of the fact that they were going to keep their lips shut. This is going to be a massive BlizzCon. I am personally going to actually I'm boycotting BlizzCon. I really am, because I had to make the choice of either, getting a neck enchant or going to BlizzCon, and I decided that I wanted a neck enchant.
Did you see where they made a blue post kind of talking about that, answering questions?
Yeah. Yes.
Because people are how are we supposed to get raid ready? And they kind of came back and said raid ready is not something new.
Yeah, that's actually
they're right, but it's a little extreme this time.
Okay. All right, so that's actually what sparked this entire episode. Really, was that entire blue post. Because at first I was like, "Are you guys wearing your pants on your head? Like, what the hell?" And then I got to thinking about it, and I got thinking back to the olden days and stuff like that. So I've got this weird opinion of what's actually going on. Poke, what do you think? What do you think is actually going on right now?
As far as like why the economy's so jacked up, or
Yep.
well, I mean, I feel like it probably has quite a few things causing it. One being a huge influx of players coming back and doing all of this raiding and things like that wasn't there before. Which, yes, on one hand, that's more people leveling and more people, gaining gold, and the more gold that's there, the more gold can be spent on these things, and thus it becomes more expensive. Also, it's more people buying, which drives up the demand. And the other thing is, I don't know that Blizzard necessarily thought through how difficult it was going to be to get certain things like gems and roses. And everywhere I look on the forums, if you look up jewel crafting at all, like a jewel crafting walkthrough or anything, all you see is people being like, how do I get blue gems? I'm level 108 and I have not seen a single blue gem. And admittedly, I've gotten more gems from the shoulder enchant that you can get to get gems than I've gotten from actually prospecting metal. So it's probably a mixture of things, but I think those two things are very much a part of it.
Okay. Well, that's not a bad theory. Now, how about we'll go with my theory, and then we'll discuss both of them at the same time, because this is kind of going to be a little ranty.
A little ranty.
A little ranty. So, how do I start this without being like really brutal? Oh, right. I don't. This is all fucking goddamn Warlords of Draenor's fault. Back in the day, it was so hard to farm. Okay? But we had so many people that did it because it was enjoyable and it was fun, and you ran around. I remember spending 2.5 weeks farming goddamn mithril to be able to pay for my dual spec and my wife's dual spec, because we were crap as a tank and a healer, so we needed to go DPS. We needed to dual spec. The fact is, Warlords of Draenor. Look at that. I'm so flustered by this that they made farming so goddamn easy that people forgot how to do it. Farming is not riding a bike. It's not getting on and just remembering, oh shit, I have balance. No, you actually have to get your ass out there and go and farm. Now that's why the prices are so incredibly high. We're letting the economy be run by the millennials that expected everything to be just handed to them. Like, it was like 30 steps over to get all of your herbs, and you could select how many herbs you wanted. That's how easy farming last expansion was. This expansion, you actually have to get out into the world. And so
like we've talked about in the past too, the world's very three-dimensional, which
yes,
obviously we're playing a three-dimensional game. And you don't know how many people I've had ask me about the fact that I keep saying the world is three-dimensional, which makes it harder to farm. Like,
yes,
getting around areas is much more difficult. On top of now, yes, it's such a change just getting out there. Also, it's more three-dimensional and more difficult to farm at this point.
Now, a couple of things that I do have to actually say. One, the amount of materials that are actually needed to create all of these things is borderline ridiculous. Okay, they went too high on this scale. Back in the PTR and in the beta, they had it so that it was a half decent balance. Instead of it being 45 billion roses, it was 5 per flask, which to me makes sense. That would make sense. I don't know why they went to this high end of everything. Jewel crafters are getting absolutely pooched. There's not enough blue gems that are dropping. So what you actually do need in this particular instance is you need to have either an alchemy buddy or an alchemist themselves, and you transmute like it used to be. But even then, it's a hit or a miss if you're going to be able to get a blue gem. That one I kind of believe is tuned way off. They need a better balance when it comes to that. Back in the day, we had 3 different types of metals, and you would get your starting metal, you would get your middle metal, and then you would get your high end metal that you actually were able to get the high end gems out of, or a better chance of getting the high-end gems out of. This time around, we've got 2 metals, but we've got like 75 different versions of that particular metal, whether it's a fell slate seam or this or that. And so they didn't take that into account. They've still got it on what seems like the old math, which is, you have this amount of a chance to proc out of this, and you have this amount of a chance to proc out of this, but they don't have that third. They don't have that third option, and that's kind of sad in so many ways. So that's keeping the gem prices high. Flask prices are ridiculously high because, well, that's it. It takes 70,000 roses to make any one of the flasks, and even at a level 3, it's not helping. You don't proc as many as you could or should, and so guilds are finding it very difficult to supply flasks for their raiders, and the market is all on those people that are not farming their garrison anymore, and they're out on the ground. They've put their boots in, they've dug in, they've started doing their craft. And for those guys, it's great. For those people that aren't raid ready, where we're still, even I am actually still using on my necklace a Draenor neck enchant. It's not pairing well. We've got this like massive disconnect. It's like Donald Trump became president, and now we've got this huge disconnect.
Well, I keep hearing people blatantly say, and even myself, like, I'm not paying that much for a neck enchant until I have a neck that I feel like deems it worthy.
Yeah.
Same thing, like even the high-end crit ring enchant. Like I didn't pay that kind of money for a high-end ring enchant until I got a freaking legendary ring last night. I wasn't going to until I had something that I knew I wasn't going to replace, and it's one of those situations. And with that legendary ring, I absolutely know, even if I found one with a higher item level at some point, I'm not going to replace that because of the proc on it. It's almost like people are more willing to not pay the money too. It's so much money though. Like it really is. It's so much gold. And like, I don't, there are people out there I know that have millions of gold literally, but that's not every player in the game. And I know that they're trying to keep the economy up at a higher price to flush some of that gold out. But it's not like that. That's not the whole economy. Not everyone has that kind of gold. Heck, our guild bank doesn't have the amount of gold in it did when we started this because of repairs and stuff. Like, it's not there for everyone. That millions of gold, the $250,000 or 1,000 gold ring that's on the Jewel Crafter, most people don't have that to walk in there and buy that ring. Now, if you bought the ring, more power to you. It was a good way to get a heads up, but I mean the stats aren't great anyway. But it's, I don't know. They're looking for money sinks like they've done in the past, but it's like they didn't put money sinks in this time. They more so just forced it on the public.
Yeah, and really, what that has done is it's slowed down guild progression and pug progression to the point where, there's like two tiers within this one tier of rating, where those people that can afford to buy a pennant will actually go ahead and pay for all of their high-end enchants, and they're sitting at the top of the DPS chart. And Johnny Keyboard Turner, who can't afford it, is sitting at the very bottom, even though he is playing his class significantly better than those people that are way up at the very top, because he has to work that much harder at being allowed to stay in this particular raid. As a raid leader, I'm having a hard time saying, okay, guys, you really need to get these enchants, because, well, it's going to make our progression good. But that's me telling a friend, you need to pay anywhere between 30 to 45,000 gold to raid with me. Like, that's even worse than being the nerd that had the car. And the only reason why you were friends with the nerd with the car is because he had a car.
Is to get their the keystone.
Yeah. So how do we fix this? Like, what do we do? What do we do? Well, like, if we were sitting in a Blizzard boardroom and getting all of this hate and all of this, because at first I thought, okay, this will balance itself off. It will balance.
Well, and I think they're still, like, that post I was talking about in that blue post, they said that they're still looking at it, and in a month or so, if it still looks this bad, they'll look at it. In a month or so, like, you flush thousands and thousands of gold down the drain. I feel like a month or so is a bad statement there, but it's not just how do we fix it, it's what the initial problem is. And the problem is they call these things optional. They call pots optional. They call flasks optional. They call all this stuff optional. The pots are doing a huge amount of the damage for people, though. Trinkets and pots are like...
They're godsends.
15, 16, 17% of my damage in a fight. That's insane. Insane. Like that... Don't get me wrong, I love it because I like the new trinkets. I love how they work. I love there's all these new, neat, cool things that trinkets do, and I think it should be that way. But literally, I can have the same exact gear as another shaman who doesn't have my trinkets and my pots, and I can pull 20% more damage than them just because I have the two trinkets that I do and the pots that I do. And I've based a lot of my rotation and a lot of the way that I play my character around the pots and the enchants and the trinkets to try to maximize that damage, because we all know, sadly enough, elemental shamans are kind of craptastic right now. We have really high burst and then no sustained damage whatsoever. When you're building your character around that, it's a cool idea, but it kind of sucks to see yourself down on the DPS meter if you can't afford to go get pots and things like that. These things are not optional.
No.
Daily quests are not optional if you want to stay relevant.
We actually had a guild member just before I logged out to start recording get a freaking legendary out of an emissary quest. This is not an optional thing. You want to raid, you have to do these. And I'm like, oh,
and what sucks about that is that legendary is really built for frost mages. So it's not going to help them as much as one that was built for a fire mage. It's cool to get a legendary, but if it was one of the ones that were built for a fire mage, it would be, a 2 or 3 or 4, even 4%. Like, I got a legendary. It literally is a 4% increase to my damage off the top. I'm not even talking stats. I'm talking the simple proc on it increases my damage by 4% across the fight. That is crazy. These things are not optional. They're like 4% is a ridiculous amount. It really is.
Yep. Yeah, it's absolutely nuts.
And that's not even the best legendary for my class. That's in fact probably one of the lower tier legendaries for my class, and it increases my damage by a base 4%. I don't know. Like it's the word optional is killing me even more this time than it has in any other expansion. And again, I don't get me wrong, I love it. You know, everyone here that has listened to our show has heard me complain about RNG 1,000 times. I'd rather have something guaranteed to me if I put the effort in. But I like the idea of going out there not knowing, like that person who got the legendary today. The look on their face when they got a legendary from an emissary quest was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like it's incredible. It's mind blowing that you can get something that powerful from a simple daily task.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's great. I like it, but they're not optional. They're really not. If you want to stay relevant and you want to continue running at the pace that everyone else is, you have to get out there and do mythics. You have to get out there and do your dailies. You have to get out there and get pots. Like there is no option, Blizzard. It's not optional. Stop saying it.
Yeah. Well, okay. No, hold on. Here. You know, let's take the side of Blizzard for a second. Okay, these are optional. So are paying taxes. Eventually it'll catch up to you, but you know.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, I look at it, you know, and I'm looking at it from an Elemental Shaman point of view, and I'm not trying to be the one who complains about Elemental Shaman DPS being low. It does suck, but I'll deal with it. I went into this expansion expecting them to be fairly good, and they ended up being lower on the meter, and that's fine. I push myself to be better at it and stay up there as close to the top of the meter as I can get. But there are other classes too that so much of their damage, you know, I believe we have a couple people in the guild who I'm saying, you know, one of those pots is a 7% increase of my damage. Well, 2 of them per fight, but 7% increase to damage. There are people who I've been hearing talking that they're talking like 12, 13% of their damage. Even people saying as high as 16% of their damage on a fight are pots. And I'm like, holy crap. Like,
yeah. And then they nerfed them. Not only this was the part that had me absolutely bewildered. Okay. So, 50% of the damage done in one of the fights by one of our rogues was their pots. Okay? Still top of the damage meter. And then the following week, they nerfed them. They nerfed the amount of damage that those things did. But kept the same amount of materials needed. What the fuck? It doesn't make sense.
And they referenced with that, because there was some talk about that too, and they referenced the fact that when they first released them, released pots, that they didn't have a cooldown, or no, they weren't locked to 1 per fight. They had a cooldown, and people were spamming them throughout the fight. Every single time that one would end, they do another, and it was costing them. You know, back then it was thousands of gold, but back then thousands of gold was a major thing. But they were doing boss fights, and like 300% of their damage was pots. It was increasing it by 300%. And so they were killing bosses that they would have never been able to kill without, and they don't want to see that happen again. And it's like, no, we're not saying make pots more usable. We're saying make pots decent, but let us get the mats easier. We're not saying we want to use more pots. We don't want to pay more money. We want to pay less money.
Yes. Come on. Give us a break here.
It's like we're going to throw a bunch of statistics at you and a bunch of information that has nothing to do with what you're saying, and hope that you go away and leave us.
The only way that any of this will make sense is if you at the end of this debate, Blizz.
That would be my cell phone.
Your ringtone is pineapple apple pen.
Yeah. I forgot it was even sitting in the room. I usually leave it in the other room.
All right. Well, that was kind of a shock. No, the only way at the end of this debate can Blizzard, you know, make this any better is to say that she is a horrible, horrible woman. You know, because this debate is over. The mic drop has hit. The community has said, "Screw you. Lower the amount of mats or increase the amount that we can pick up."
That's what we're saying. We're not saying make them cheaper, give us gold, make them more powerful. No, we're just asking for a little bit of balance.
Yeah.
Spending another month looking at this is where I have to ask, are you guys pants on head retarded? Because
we're not saying give us anything for free or make it easy. By no means. No. It's just, when it's costing that much money to do everything else that you're already doing, if you're trying to save your garrison, oh my God,
wow,
your order hall resources, then you're not using those to buy your roll tokens, and you're spending gold. That's already 7,000 gold a week you're spending.
Yep.
Right off the top. Now, once your order hall resources once you're done doing the things you're going to do in your order hall, you can spend those resources and not feel bad about it. But you're spending 7,000 off the top. You buy 3 flasks if you have a 3-hour raid, and that's being conservative because most guilds have less than that, longer than that they raid. But let's say a 3-hour raid, 3 flasks, that's another 5,000 gold. You're at 12,000 gold just to raid.
One night.
And you buy pots. If you buy pots, let's say you get, again, let's be conservative, you get 20 pulls in a night at 2 pots per pull. That's 40 pots. You're looking at, that in itself can be 20K if you didn't buy the mats and have somebody make them. So you're looking at 30K gold if you had to buy this stuff because your class can't make it. And that's just the stuff that you're burning during a raid. That's not even your enchants, your gems, all that stuff. You're literally going to be spending 30,000 gold a week just to be able to set foot in raid if your raid is requiring those things, and that is insane.
Yeah. And no matter what enchant you put on your shoulders, whether it's Harvester or it's the gems or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's not enough. Those satchels aren't dropping enough for it to balance itself off.
I don't know if you remember this, but we had a talk about this when we hit the garrisons, but we talked exactly opposite.
Yeah.
Everything went in the last expansion from, it was kind of difficult to go out and farm, not difficult like this, but it was harder to go out and farm, and a lot of people complained about it. So going into Warlords, they gave us this garrison, and farming became so easy, and you just run 10 feet, and you gather everything, and stacks are now 200 instead of 20, and oh my God, this is so crazy. I can't believe I'm getting so much metal. I got all this leather. I've got everything I need. It's so easy to bam. It still takes all of this stuff. Like, to make one ring to get a point in jewel crafting, it can take upwards of 8 gems. And I'm getting 4 or 5 gems for farming for 2 hours.
Well,
that is just, it's the exact opposite, and it's going to take time for us to get used to it.
But here's where now. Earlier on, I said, I remember going out and farming and blah, blah, blah. Right? Okay, so they increased the stack size to 200. They increased the amount of mats that were needed to make all of these things.
Because they were so easy to get. If they didn't increase it, people
now
would just blown through it.
They just kept going forward with that. Okay, when you're able to walk out your garrison, pick all of your stuff, the 200 stack size made sense. We're using and burning more mats now than when than at the very beginning of any other expansion. Now you put it back into the reality of it back before the garrison. So we'll talk about Warlords of Garrisonville later. Cataclysm, Mist of Pandaria, when they had 20 stacks, we were using 2 and 3 of each of everything to go ahead and make. That's what we were doing. That's how you leveled. This time, like I'm looking at the mats that are needed for the high end leather working,
And sure, leather is plentiful. Like if you're a leather worker, you totally got the short end of the stick on this one, because you can't make money on it because everybody is a leather worker, and you can farm for less than an hour and collect more freaking teeth and more freaking leather than you can shake a stick at. Now, the leather I'm using, like, to make 5 armbands, I am using 3 hours worth of work to make 3 armbands. And I'm just like, if I were a jewel crafter, I'd be pissed. Because my 3 hours worth of work just got me 15 levels on my stuff. My biggest complaint right now with my leather working is I don't have enough blood of Sargeras to be able to completely obliterate all of my gear right now and turn it into obliteratium. That's my complaint. I can fix that by just going and doing some dungeons. But I'm not going to right now because I'm recording. But a jewel crafter...
In a obliteratium, like you can get it to an 850, but where does that leave you after that? Like, I mean,
well,
there's something there to keep increasing your, and
there will be more. They will be
putting
those in. However, the one thing that people are just totally ignoring this expansion, stat priority. I'm
That's because it's not even possible to get stat priority on
unless of course you're a crafter. Yes. I switched out and I dropped my demon hunter 7 item levels and went to all crafted gear.
Like,
I'm pulling more damage.
I guarantee it. If I could take my elemental shaman and work a full set of crafted gear that's all crit haste, I could probably drop 25 item levels and still pull more damage.
Yep.
Because mastery is just useless. It's on every piece of gear. Every single piece of metal gear ever made in the history of World of Warcraft has freaking mastery on it now. And it's useless to elemental shamans. And Blizzard, they didn't even see that coming. It just slid past them that mastery was going to be one of the absolute worst stats for our class.
That there's some guy in engineering sitting there going, wow, I fucking rickrolled all shamans right now.
I'm so glad we put those talents in that weapon for them. I'm so glad it made one of their stats useless. That's great. Damn you, whoever you are.
He's gonna be like, we've given so much praise to you to Hazakosis. Hey, he's probably the one sitting there going, screw you, Metzen, you're leaving and you were a shaman. Mastery's garbage. We're done.
Here's what I'm expecting to happen. I'm waiting for the blue post that says, we don't want you playing elemental shamans. That's why we nerfed them into the ground.
We didn't technically nerf them into the ground. We just nerfed mastery into the ground, and it's optional. It's optional. You can go out and get gear that doesn't have mastery on it, but
seriously,
we just didn't make that. We didn't make that. That was Corey Stockton's. Thing. He was in charge of stat prioritizing shamans, pet battles, and Twitter integration. So
I have to read you the blue post about it.
Okay.
I don't know if you read this yet.
Yeah, I did.
For all of our viewers out there that probably haven't read this because they probably don't care about elemental shamans, because literally I've read on the forums more than once, friends don't let friends play elemental shamans in Legion. But it says, elemental shaman concerns. I've also gathered concerns from this thread among many others and sent them to the development team with a round of questions on our goals/philosophy for Elemental. Once I hear back from them, I'll share what I can. Thanks for your patience in the meantime. They won't even address it. They just completely... I have noted that you have concerns. And yes, I know if you look at any forums, there's always complaints about classes. But the Elemental Shaman forums are not Elemental Shamans complaining about it. It's other people complaining about Elemental Shamans sucking so badly. like,
Oh.
it kills me.
Oh man, we were doing mythic pluses before the keystones were even dropped when I was bringing 2 elemental shamans into a mythic.
Oh,
we couldn't do it. We couldn't. And I'm like I'm changing strats and I'm moving things.
the thing that's most terrible about that is if it was only bosses, we would burn through them faster than any other classes.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's AoE trash and we're so slow at AoE trash is terrible. Unless you pull like 6 or 7 mobs at a time, then it's just awful.
Oh man. So we couldn't finish mythics with 2 elemental shamans. It was that bad. There were boss fights where I out damaged you. We were at the final boss in Eye of Azura with 1 elemental shaman, a DK, and a fire mage. We could not do it. We seriously couldn't.
I can't cast. I ended up having to switch to resto because my cast times are so long as elemental. I'd move, I'd start to cast, I'd have to move again. I'd start to cast, I'd have to move again. It's terrible. There's a lot of that complaint too, that we have nothing, because we don't. And I know every single caster out there who's listening is like, well, freaking Shadow Priest can't move and cast either. Okay, whatever. Everyone has something that they can somewhat cast while they're moving. We literally have freaking Frost Shock.
Yeah.
And it does 4 damage. And we can spam Frost Shock while we're moving, and it does no damage whatsoever at all. But we can spam it until the end of time. So it's not that I want to see Blizzard change the Elemental Shaman or anything. I'm fine with the way it currently works. The burst damage, the bosses are fine. It's just so disheartening. Again, it's the opposite thing. Used to Elemental Shamans were in crazy, insane AoE damage, and our single target boss damage was somewhat lacking. And it's just completely opposite this time. Our burst on a single target is just godly. I have 854, now an 857 item level, and I have seen... Last night, I seen 575,000 DPS burst on a boss. That's insane. But it'll go 575, and then for the next 3 minutes, it's like I'm pulling 60 or 70k, and you just watch my numbers drop down to about 200. Then I'll burst again, and it drops again, and it's. There are other classes that are exactly opposite this too. They have no burst, and they're just all sustained. So,
I know exactly what they were, how that conversation at Blizzard headquarters actually went. They were sitting in the dungeon. Chris Metzen goes, there's the Blizzard Illuminati sitting around with Metzen, and he's sitting in the middle of the room. Now picture this: it's a dungeon, right? So it's all dark, and they've got fire and they've got Blizzard symbols all over the place in the Kier Torn colors, and Metzen's sitting there. Guys, I'm retiring at the end of this at the beginning of this expansion. Ian Hazakosis sitting there, tinting his fingers, going, "It's about time. It's about time. It's about time. I can take over. It's mine. It's all mine." So we're gonna have to kill off the voices that I do. It's about time. And he's got the Gul'dan shoulders now starting to creep up over top of him. Corey Stockton's in the background like fucking Mana Millhouse there. Millhouse Mana Storm. Yes, we can do this. Metzen goes, "I'm out. and he sets his clipboard down and he walks away, and the first thing that Ian says, nerf shamans. We're gonna make sure that shamans aren't playable for the entire expansion. Let's flip the script on them so that nobody plays them, so that we don't have to try to kill off Thrall. We'll just make the world hate shamans. That's how that entire board meeting went.
Well, and have you seen the conversations about why Frost Mages and Elemental Shamans and Frost Death Knights and a lot of the others are showing lower on meters? Did you find this as amusing as I did? Or have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it yet, but I have another one of those tinfoil hat theories.
So their reasoning behind it is because all of the best mages and all of the best shamans and all of the best death knights are all playing the better specs. So therefore, that's why elemental shamans don't show on par with the Sims, because everyone who was a good elemental shaman has already switched to enhancement because they gave up on it, and everyone who was a good frost mage switched to fire because they gave up on it because they want to play the best spec. Which I get it, that's to some extent true, but when you look across the logs and there's no one pulling those numbers, it tells you no, I don't think so. I think your class might be really weak.
No. Actually, the truth in the matter is that, you know, all of the developers were tortured all the way through the Aluminum Gathering, Warlords of Draenor, where their only pumped in music was the soundtrack to Frozen, because the only classes that aren't working very well all are frost based. Frost mage. Nope. No. We hate that. We're not gonna let anybody play a frost mage. A frost death knight. Nope. No. Fuck you, Elsa. We're not letting you play those. Nobody's gonna be singing that to us anymore. You know, and then the elemental shaman that starts your entire rotation off with Brushhawk. That's what it is. And druids are doing just fine. Yep. Tell me I'm wrong. This is not a harebrained idea. They tortured them all the way through. You guys wanted to.
There also are no frost artifacts ever anywhere. Yeah. And there are no storm artifacts ever anywhere. So you might be honest.
I am.
I mean, we are about to hit, Wrath of the Lich King 2. So they might be holding back on all the frost stuff until then. So.
Oh yeah. I mean. Yeah, they're all sitting. They're all sitting at Bolivar's feet. Right, like if you go and do
all of your frost are mine.
Jaina is the only frost mage we still know. She took off. She stole it all.
That's where she's at. She's chilling with Bolvar and they're just waiting.
We've got all of the frosty stuff. We're gonna do what we did we're gonna take all of the frost stuff. We're gonna put it all in one spot. We're gonna wait for them all to come and we'll nuke them. And that's
3.0.
Yeah,
the Frost Mage's return. That's what it's gonna be.
Yeah,
there.
Same. It's gonna work out just as well as a Throne of Thunder, right?
Well,
like remember that quest line where we had to go out and we had to get all of the armor for the Thunder King, and we had to put it all in one spot. How well did that work for us? It didn't.
but Naxxramas 3.0 will not be a raid. It will be a mega dungeon.
It'll be a mega dungeon. That's right. All right. Well, now that we've had fun at our frosty friends, guys, we're really sorry. We did not do this to you guys. Please don't hate us. If you're going to send any sort of hate mail, send that to @Mumper over on Twitter. That's Corey Stockton's Twitter account. Please hit him up. Let him know what you guys feel. Send him the cold shoulder.
He said personally he wants all hate mail.
Yes. He's fine. Make sure that you're sending it during any sort of soccer pitch match. You know, that's cool. Because that's when he's the most active on Twitter. Anyways, wow, we are never gonna get nice things, are we, Poke? I waited till after you got your legendary to actually go ahead and do that.
That was a fluke, though.
I'm fucked for the rest of the expansion.
You know that's why we don't get anything in game. That's because we know exactly who our characters are.
I know. When they asked us what our email addresses were, and I said these are what they are, I am so mad that I used my login account. Anyways, RNGesus does not live with us. But anyways, so okay. Well, we'll clear the air for a while. Let's move on to something that isn't quite as hilarious. Legion. To date. We were talking about this in Raid last night, or not last night, the night before. What was everybody's favorite expansion? And I was the only person in the entire raid that said Legion.
Well,
whoa! We are not married. You do not get to interrupt me. I was about to clarify that.
I'm gonna say everyone's still a little standoffish.
That's where I was going with that.
No one said Legion was bad.
No.
Everyone's afraid to say it's good.
Okay, so yes, everybody did clarify that. Everybody said their Wrath of the Lich King, their Burning Crusade. I was the only one that took the stance of Legion. And I actually do mean that. I am enjoying this way more than all of the expansions I have played to date. They could actually add a Timeless Turd into the middle of this, which we already know is kind of there. It's the Broken Shore. It's that whole big island that you can swim out to now. That's coming, right? We know all of the we know this up to this point. We don't know any spoilers. We have an idea who the final boss is going to be, but they could honestly put these things in. In my experience right now, this is the best expansion that I have played. What do you honestly think about this expansion? And start with the good, because then we're going to go into what we should be able to see, what we need to put in to make it a kill Wrath of the Lich King. Because something else that actually got announced last week, I'm not sure if you caught it. Blizzard announced how many subscribers they've got. We're back up to 10 million. We're not going to do it in quarterly calls when it matters. We're going to do it when we have lots of people. We're not going to tell you when we lose lots. We're going to tell you when we gained lots.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, man, there's so much about this expansion that's just incredible. First, I want to say I still think BC is the number one expansion in my book so far. Now, this is kind of like BC 2, and I definitely can see Legion by the end of this taking that spot for me and becoming the number one expansion. First of all, the class separation. And what I mean by that is not just each class is different, but every spec of every class is so very different. It's not just you shooting a different color of glowing ball at a target. Obviously, yes, to some extent it is, if you're just watching it happen. But if you're actually playing that character, they all feel so very different. It's incredible. The makeup of the artifact weapons, which unfortunately we will probably, from what I understand, only see this expansion, is also incredible. I know that it's causing them to chase down a lot of stuff, though, and it's become a lot more work than they even were able to proceed to begin with. And what I mean by that, and a lot of people miss that, is elemental shamans, for instance. The one reason elemental shamans are jacked up at this point is because of their artifact weapon. That's why mastery is messed up and is not working the way that they wanted it to. You know, it adds something really cool, but it's causing them a lot of work, and I now am seeing why they're probably going to drop it after one expansion. Also, there are things like the raids. The raids are fantastic so far, in my opinion. There are repeated mechanics that we've seen in the past, but the ones that are repeated are done in a way that it adds something new and different. Also, the fights going from normal to, or well, LFR even, to normal to heroic to mythic don't feel the same. Even mythic dungeons, when you fight a boss in a mythic dungeon, it does not feel the same as fighting that boss in heroic. It feels different, and it's because of the way that they're set up. They're no longer just set up to have 10% more health. They are set up to be a different fight, per se. And even in those mythic dungeons where they technically are the same fight, the difference makes it different. You have to pay attention to mechanics in a Mythic Plus dungeon. You can't ignore them. And in any other dungeon in all of history, by the time you were 110, even heroics, 90% of people just ignored the mechanics and did whatever they wanted to do. And it does not work that way. Then, of course, with Mythic Dungeons, you get the additions like bolstering, raging, things like that add a whole new mechanic to everything you're doing through there. So, again, that's fantastic. Something new. The World Quest setup is fantastic. I love going out and doing the World Quest. Now, the fact that the World Quests have kind of stopped getting better gear at level 835, on one hand, I'm going to say it's good. I know a lot of people are complaining about it and upset about it, but I like the fact that it's there to get you to a rating point, to get you to a mythic point, and then, yes, you can proc and get a better item. But at one point, I was afraid that as my item level went up, those were going to continue to go up with it, and it's not hard to complete a World Quest. In fact, I don't know how many World Quests I've gotten a piece of gear from for just walking up, hitting a boss, it dies 4 seconds later, I get the item. And that shouldn't be. So I'm glad that it's just a proc chance and not something that's just going to be handed to you. All around, though, every day that I log on, the things that I'm doing, I enjoy. There's only one real complaint that I have about the entire game, and we'll talk about that after we talk about the good stuff. And I'll explain what that is and why it can also be a good thing when we talk about it.
I've got nothing but great things to say about this this entire expansion. There is more content to do at level 110. The minute you hit 110, then that was pretty much in all of the last 2 expansions. I like the feeling of logging in. I've got an add-on that shows me my world quests. I spend my 5 minutes looking at my entire map, trying to figure out, is there enough for me to want to do these quests today? No. Okay, I don't have to do them, so I'm gonna go hit a mythic. I'm gonna go hit a mythic dungeon because it's kind of fun. I did something today that I haven't done in a while, just out of weird chance. I did a heroic dungeon, and oh my god, I totally forgot what it was like to do a heroic dungeon. It was slow. It was enjoyable. I didn't want to rage. I didn't want to hit people. We did Violet Hold, and no, I was the top DPS, but I was a tank. Normally, I get angry when that happens. This time around, I wasn't, because it was enjoyable. I'm finding that I'm spending more time this expansion looking around at just random crap than I have any other expansion. It is truly amazing. I haven't felt like this since I first hit level 80 on my rogue back in Wrath of the Lich King. And I sat there going, okay, now that I'm at max level, what do I do? And at that point, I mean, I was pretty green. I didn't know what actually was available to me at level 80. So I honestly hit level 80 and I logged into an alt and I started getting to level 80 going, well, I'm done now. But this time around, I'm enjoying that kind of nostalgic feeling of not knowing what I'm going to do and how my day is going to play out. I am loving the fact that while I'm out doing, daily quests, and realistically, folks, there are more daily quests to do than every expansion combined. But they're done in such a way that it makes you feel like you're not in this daily grind. They really stopped and they really thought about this. Like, okay, you only technically need to do 4 dailies in the course of a day. Or you can save them for 3-4 days and then go do all of them all in one sitting, which changes that dynamic. It's a lot of fun to do either direction. I have nothing really bad to actually say about this. I mean, I could pull some stuff out of my ass and say this is horrible and that's horrible just to get ratings, but the fact is, no, it's a really solid expansion. I am enjoying this so much more than I enjoyed Wrath of the Lich King, because of the fact that when I was back in Wrath of the Lich King, that I hit level 80 at the very late end of it. The day that I hit 80 on my rogue, people were talking about the new raid that just opened up, ICC and stuff like that, and so I was so green and I was so new that I didn't get to experience the entire expansion. So my first major expansion was Cataclysm, and well, this is killing it. This is killing both of those 2 expansions for me, because of the fact that it is so well thought out. There's a reason why we've got 10 million players again, because they did this so well. We procced all the way up to 12 million in Draenor, and by this point in the expansion, we lost almost half of the players because there was nothing to do. This time around, they're just ramping it up. On Tuesday, when Karazhan drops, we've got 13 new dungeon bosses to do in Mythic, because it's a Mythic only dungeon. It's not going to be Mythic Plus. That's kind of nice. Could you imagine doing Kara bolstering? That would be fucking brutal.
Well, I feel like it may already be all of those things.
Yeah.
If you took, from what I've read about it, if you took all of the added abilities and threw them in there, that might end up being what Kara's like.
Yeah.
Which I think might be frustrating for some people, but I cannot wait. I think it's going to be great.
So I'm done praising Legion, because I'm going to continue doing it for the rest of this expansion. I can't see them at this present moment. You could seriously throw Illidan now as the final boss, and make it not make sense. Wait, no. We'll bring back Sethun or Sethun.
Akama will be the last boss.
Akama, yeah. And it not make any sense whatsoever. Or you could bring Soldier 78 from Overwatch. He's the final boss. I still won't care, because that's how good it is getting up to there. By this point in Draenor, I was already on to my 6th alt. I was bored as ever living crap. And now I'm still working on my main. It's awesome, and that's the part that is making this worth it. So what would you change if you could change anything? Anything at all?
There's only one thing that I really truly have an issue with, and I do understand the reasoning behind it, and that's why I say it could be a good thing or a bad thing, and that is currently class balance. Their original class balancing was done with Sims, and even though they say all of their balancing is not done with Sims, it absolutely had to be a simulation. It could not have been actual numbers. If you go online and you look at the numbers of people running, and I'm not saying this because I'm an elemental shaman, I'm saying this because there are classes that are even weaker than an elemental shaman. So here's the deal. They are not increasing them at a faster rate for one reason, which can be a good thing and a bad thing, and that is because of artifacts and artifact power. It costs you so much money to revamp an artifact. Well, not money, but it costs you so much artifact power to revamp an artifact. It costs you so much to level an artifact that they don't want to slowly or to rapidly increase a spec and it outdo another spec because of what they were saying before. If you're really good and you're really dedicated to your class, there's a fairly good chance you will switch to whatever does the best of that class. So you can go into a raid and do that. Now, if let's use Fire Mage and Frost Mage as an example, because that's the one they used. They do not want to increase the Frost Mage at such an exponential pace that it outdoes the Fire Mage, and then all Fire Mages feel like they need to switch to Frost. So they're doing it very slowly to make sure they don't misstep and overshoot and end up with a class that is more powerful than the other, where people have to switch because you've already put the effort in. If it was like last expansion, it didn't really matter if you were switching from an Arms Warrior to a Fury Warrior. You were getting new weapons and somewhat new gear to do that, but it was not the dedication you've put into an artifact weapon. Now, everyone knows I love the artifact weapons. I love how they work. I love what they do. I love what they bring to the game. So the fact that I'm complaining about them not balancing classes because of an artifact weapon is contradictory to what I've been saying, and I know that. And that's why I said this can be good or bad. It is good that they're watching and they don't screw me and every other player that's been doing this out of all the time we've spent building these artifact weapons. But on the flip side of that, there are people at the bottom of these DPS meters that should not be there. There are people that I know that are at the bottom of DPS meters that are really good at playing their characters, and they're only getting out DPS'd by other people who are not as good as them because of the current RNG of the way the classes are set up. It should not work that way. It should not be that big of a gap. There is a 28% gap from the number one DPS, real-time DPS, not like max DPS, not like simmed DPS. I'm talking real DPS through logs. There is a 28 or more % gap from the top to the bottom. That is an insane amount.
Yeah.
Like, just ridiculous amount. Now, once we see tier sets, that could change that. That could completely flip it upside down, and the last person on the list could be the top. Once we see new trinkets from new raids, once we see more gear, once we see all these things, that could all change. And maybe that's what they're shooting for. But currently, there is such a huge gap. It's all like taking 3 of one of these other classes versus taking 5 of the lower end classes is a better option. And there's nothing that these other classes bring to raid anymore that make it worth bringing them. At one point, having every class in the raid was a good thing, and that is done with, and it's been done with for a couple of expansions now, and that's fine. And it would be fine if it wasn't for the fact that there's literally nothing an elemental shaman brings to the raid except for the ability to reincarnate themselves and their damage. We don't really have the ability to heal anymore. We have one thing in our spec that allows us to do a tiny, tiny little bit of healing that and I repeat that, no one, including Icy Veins, Noxic, Elitist Jerks, anywhere you want to read that you think is a reputable source, MMO champion forums, no one is telling us to get that ability and try to use it because it's so small, it's useless. We bring nothing but our damage to the raid. A Fire Mage brings nothing but their damage to a raid. A Frost Mage brings nothing but their damage to a raid. A Frost Death Knight brings pretty much nothing but their damage to a raid. And I'm not downing...
Not even their damage.
Yeah, and I'm not downing these classes. It's not their fault. There are some really great players playing these classes that if they just had a 10 or 15% damage buff would be topping meters.
Yep.
But they're not, because even at their best, they're getting out DPS by mediocre DPS that are, how many times have we done a mythic, picked up a pug? The person has obviously been a mediocre player, but their damage looks like they're god because of the class they're playing.
Yep. Yeah. This is the expansion of the flavor of the week. I've used this phrase in guild, but never on air. Flavor of the week tunes are those tunes that those people that oh my god, warriors got buffed. I need to switch to a warrior right now, and they do. The flavor of the week are those people. They're a raid leader's nightmare because you spend so much time gearing their original main, and they decide, oh my god, I need to be a warrior this week because they're doing more damage because of one ability and stuff like that, even though they didn't think, holy crap, I'm going from being a hunter down to a warrior, so I'm doing 4% extra damage, but now I've thrown off the comp of the ranged, and you're screwing all of that. Those are my most hated players, because for them, they think that their numbers will compensate for that, and they're not. They're just not. Because when you put together a raid and you put together this comp, you actually look at how many ranged versus how many melee, how many healers, how many tanks. And these things are all like this big circle of life. This boss is going to have a meteor that hits at the very back of the raid. Well, guess what? Now all of a sudden you have one person that's not back there sharing that damage. You've screwed your healers. You've screwed your tanks. You've screwed. But at least these people are doing 4% more damage. Like, square off. I fucking hate those people.
Yep, and that's.
And when you suggested to me that you shouldn't be playing Elemental and you should go Enhance, I'm like, no, it will fix. It will balance eventually.
I never really meant it.
I know. I know.
It's frustrating because I guarantee you that I could take probably the gear that I'm standing in, just switch specs, and not even put points in my freaking Doomhammers, and probably do a similar amount of damage that I'm currently doing. And the simulations don't show that. They really don't. But going and looking at Warcraft logs and just looking up even high-end elemental shamans, like, it's not, the damage is not there. And even to get the damage, we have to switch back and forth between our specializations with Ascendance and Lightning Rod and things like that. And it's so frustrating to sit there and watch this huge, and I know that elemental shamans are not the bottom of that meter. There are people way lower than us. And it's frustrating to watch, a mythic. I've told people, like, what kind of damage do you pull? Oh, well, I can pull 400k on a boss fight if the boss dies within, 5 minutes of pulling it. If it goes longer than that, my damage drops, significantly over time every time that I blow my cooldowns, depending on, you have to learn the fight and know when to use your elemental cooldowns. They're like, oh, you should be fine then. No, because mythic pluses are not, it's not about the boss fight. You can take an hour to kill a freaking boss, and it's really not going to matter. The trash is what you have to get through at a decent speed. Mm-hmm. And if you take, you take a Frost Mage, an Elemental Shaman, and a Frost Death Knight, and try to go through the trash. And all three of those classes, I tell you, have been top of AoE damage in the past.
Yes.
All three of those classes have been AoE gods.
Yeah.
And now it's like we can kind of kill a boss, but sorry, unless your tank is so badass that he's pulling 3 entire groups at a time, you're not going to make it through a mythic in the 30-minute allotted time period. You're just not.
Yeah. Okay, so my thing, and I know how weird this one is going to be for me to say. The only thing that I would change is I would have put flight in right from get-go. You hit 110, go back to the old way. Spread your quests out a little bit more and put flight back in. Because flight in this expansion is almost necessary. Only because of that 3D world that you keep talking about. Sure, we all know that we are playing a 3D game, but now I've been holding this pencil for quite some time. Let's think about High Mountain for a second. Now I'm going to draw this little triangle over top of my face. Okay, so now we've got that. It's you guys can all imagine that. Quest number 1 is here. Quest number 2 is here. Quest number 3 is back down here. And it's very, very, very laid out. Like, flight is coming. It doesn't matter what zone you're in. You feel like, oh my god, I should be flying.
And Warlords did not feel that way. It was very flat. Everything yes, obviously there were hills, but you'd have a path that was 600 feet wide going up a mountain, like at this incline.
You knew exactly where you were going.
Here's a quest. Like, you're directly above you, and you're looking for 15 minutes trying to figure out where this guy's at.
Yeah.
And he's either under you in a cave or above you on a cliff.
And and so this time around, I like in Draenor, I couldn't have given 2 shits if flight was actually there. Because it was very easy to move around the world. It was very easy to get from quest to quest to quest to quest. Farming was all in this little area here. The only thing that I found easier once I got flight was archaeology. That was it. That was totally it. This time around, I'm like looking at it going, oh my god, 7.1, add flight. Add flight, please, God, add flight. You guys are going to make my life so much easier. I know that it's coming. I know, really. Oh my God. And legitimately, that is the one and only thing. I don't feel that this time, if they added it, if they had flight available at 110 and made it account bound, would it detract from the world? I think that actually people would find newer and funner things in the world that we wouldn't have found while we're trying to, stress about where that particular mob that we have to go and kill, that's either up there or down in that cave that has the coolest new layout. And we wouldn't have bitched about the layouts of the dungeons the caves, if it was easy to get to that cave to begin with. Because the part that is the most frustrating and the most maddening is you spend 15 minutes trying to find this cave, and then once you find the cave, it's not the old same layout or the same 3 layouts that we had before. You then have to go and find your way through that damn cave. I congratulate you guys in making us want flight back. Not that we're owed it, because that's really what that conundrum came down to, and that's what that fight that you guys had back in Draenor was. People wanted flight because of the fact that we've had it for every expansion, and rah, 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 rah. Fact of the matter is, guys, I supported you in the fact that that flight was not in Draenor, because
the millennials wanted it, and well, it's not a necessary thing, at least in Draenor. This expansion, definitely it is. And I know it's so odd for me to be saying, because I took the most flimsy answer when it came to the whole flight debate back in Draenor. When realistically, I just really kind of wanted everybody to shut the fuck up. There was no need for flight in Draenor. They built the world according to the idea that there wasn't going to be flight. I didn't miss it. When I got it, I was highly entertained by the fact that I was able to fly again. But it didn't make my life any better. You know, it's like putting bracing stripes on your bike. Yeah, I like it when I put it on there, but it doesn't really actually make you go faster. This time around, it would be a massive quality of life thing, which would also help drop the prices of, you know, our flasks and stuff like that, because now it's easier to go farming. It is easier for people to get around the world. Yes, the invention of the World Quest whistle is probably the greatest thing I didn't even know I never had. And it is fantastic, and I would still continue to use it, because it then gets me from here to there much faster, and then I fly, and then I take off and I fly. It allows me so that I can go have a smoke. It's not going to detract this time around. Flight detracted from Draenor. It totally did. You missed so much on the ground. This time, after you do the whole leveling process, it would be great to have it, and I can't wait for flight to come in. Now, do not get me wrong, and I mean this in all sincerity. I can't wait for it to come in. I will wait. I am not going to be one of those people that jump onto the forums and go, "I'm gonna quit because I can't fly. I earned this in every other expansion," and blah blah blah. I'm not that way. You guys are doing a wonderful job of this expansion. And the minute flight comes in, I'm going to be fucking having a little ticker tape parade across my office here. Maybe I might paint a griffin on that giant purple door that I got behind me. And that, it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastical. That's the one thing I would have changed right off of the bat. Give us the Pathfinder Achieve, like you did. Don't give us the ground mount speed. Give us flight. That would have helped drop our prices. That would have helped others get around. Because when you're leveling with a friend, you can jump on your rocket. You can go hit that cave. That friend is going to level an alt.
Well, they do like the pass where they charge for it too. That's another money sink that gets rid of gold in the economy, which therefore hopefully would make my rating cheaper. And that is something optional. I don't need to go get flight, so
unless of course you're trying to go around freaking High Mountain and try to find that last little spot. God, well, okay. I've got a really good question, and I want somebody on Twitter to tell me why this flight point is there. There's a fucking flight point at the very bottom of High Mountain. It's the Obsidian Cliff or some stupid shit. Why is that there? I don't even get why it's there.
So you have to look for it.
Well, no, you can't even look for it. It gives it to you because there's no entrance in and there's no entrance out. It's just there. I don't fucking get why it's there. It's ridiculous. It's just a flight point so that I can fly to the wrong fucking spot when I'm going to Netherion's lair every single goddamn time. I go to it and I go, shit, I need a summons. I flew to the wrong spot. Why is this here? And then I spend the next 15 minutes going, why the fuck is this here? So, please.
Hit me up on Twitter.
Every
Explain
single
that.
time. Every single time we go to the Darren Slayer. It's so funny.
It is. And it's the same. I go to the same one. I know that I'm crazy. I know that. Oh, the other one that's driving me nuts is falling into cracks and dying. That one drove me nuts because that was 15 minutes of my life that I couldn't get my body back, that I was trying to figure out. We had people on the top of a mountain trying to res me. I had people at the bottom of the mountain trying to res me, and I had to jump off of the mountain, land in the same crack, which was tough to do in the first place, and I don't even know how I did it. It was totally a fluke. And then I had to wiggle through and then fall some more, and my body was apparently 3,000 meters lower than where I was to begin with. I'm still angry about that. I don't even get that one. I'm pretty sure I found the greatest bug of all time in World of Warcraft, because like my body was half in the mountain and half out of the mountain, and when I was able to res, it was like way down here. It was stupid. Anyways, grr, that's an annoyance. Anyways, Poke, do you got anything else you want to add before we sign out?
No, just everybody have a great evening. If you watch Walking Dead, don't spoiler everybody that you see, because not everybody gets to watch it tonight.
That's right. Actually, probably the best way to screw with people tonight is to do hashtag rest in peace Carol, or
just random, yeah, just whoever you want.
No.
Hashtag rest in peace, and then just
if you watch the actual trailer if
we all do Carol, though, everyone will think Carol.
I know, right? We could totally screw with the entire world by hashtag rest in peace Carol. Or wait a minute.
I'm gonna do it now.
Let's make it. We have to make it real. Hashtag rest in peace Scarol. I can't believe they killed her.
That's messed up.
Yeah, I'm gonna. You should totally do that. Let's do it, folks. Let's just do it, because that's what we do here at Warcraft Nightly News. We screw with people. Alrighty, well, guys. Honestly, it's been a pleasure and an honor sharing this last hour and a half with you guys. Poke, why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with us?
I can do that. If you guys want to get in touch with us on Twitter as a whole, hit us up at KOD Gaming 1. If you want to email us, hit us up at knightsofdeathbridgegaming@gmail.com. Our Facebook is facebook.com/knightsofdeathbridge. You can get in touch with me personally on Twitter at PokeSoul.
You can get in touch with me at Derek_Scott. And that's really it. Yeah, those are where you can get in touch with us.
And as always, YouTube, hit us up with comments on there. You know, any means that you guys feel like is open to you, please use it. We are more than happy to listen to what you have to say. Likes, comments, shares, whatever. We listen and we put it all together, and then Derek rants, and then I tell all of you guys the things I've heard from everyone. It's a lot of fun.
So one of the things that we've been missing here on our show is advertisements. We're one of the few podcasts and vodcasts that don't do a lot of advertising. So I think that, you know what, each week, Poke, we should just pick some other random thing. We should just pick.
Dead.
Yeah. No.
We advertise Walking Dead a lot today.
Like we will just advertise some company or some random company. Grab your phone book, thumb through it,
somebody is going to sue us.
Why?
Advertising their company.
It's free advertising.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
This week's sponsor has been Jixx. Jixx t-shirts are wonderful. They fit well, and they've got unbelievable customer service. Go ahead, head on over to Jixx.com and look up all of the World of Warcraft t-shirts that they've got there, and make sure you say hello.
And while you're there, put the code in Warcraft Nightly News for 10% off. Okay, that's not a real code, folks. Let's just don't put that code in, or put that code in and see what happens.
All of your stuff is free.
Yeah, you're not gonna get a discount. You're not gonna get anything free. But boy, somebody at customer service, what the hell code is this? What is Warcraft Nightly News? And that's Warcraft with 2 R's.
Maybe that's a good way to get our name out there.
I know, right?
Everybody in every customer service for every website will be looking up, what is this?
Warcraft Nightly News? That's not even the way you spell nightly. Some little old lady that has cats, pictures of cats all over her desk, is going to be like, I'll give this guy everything for free because of the fact that I don't know what this Warcraft Nightly News. It's got to be a new code. And if you do it really early on a Monday, you're going to catch those people that haven't had their coffee. You might actually get free crap. By entering in that code. But yeah, no, I think that we should do it. See what sticks. We'll see if anybody contacts us. Like,
It says stop using our name.
just we get a cease and desist order from Disney. What do you mean? We didn't even promote Disney. No, we're just ahead of the game. Alrighty, guys. Well, this has been episode 600 of Warcraft Nightly News. I'm Derek Scott.
And I'm Poke.
And remember, kids, it's all fun and games until you have to buy all of your flasks, and then you better know the mechanics, otherwise you're wasting your money. You guys have yourself a wonderful week.